The story I'm about to tell you started years ago when my sister Jessica met this guy Nathan. They fell in love and got married. My sister and Nathan now live in Utah. And that's where our story begins. The great cities and towns of the world are often named for the very natural features that define them. Take Minneapolis, for example. Its name means water city because it sits on a river and it has all sorts of lakes within it. But there's one town that has a more literal name than just about any of them, and that's the capital city of the great state of Utah. Salt Lake City is named because it literally sits on a giant salt lake, and it has an absolutely incredible story. I have a special connection to this town because my sister and her family live here. And so I guess that leaves me with just one question. Do I hunt before or after I see my sister?
No matter who you are, no matter what you want your life to be, you're gonna be a star.
Willie Nelson.
Rolling like a VIP. Yeah, you're living like a rock star, baby.
Cut.
You're living like a rock star, baby. You're living like a rock star, baby.
It's the first morning in Utah. We came in late last night, so I haven't seen the terrain, and I just met some dude that I'm now gonna go hunting with. It's like a blind date, only with another guy. So forget I said that. Part of the story I want to tell you today involves my sister Jessica and her business located in Salt Lake City, Utah. But before we go into that, let's talk about the other reason I'm here. That is the reason right there. That's a mule deer, a really nice mule deer. And this is my new friend Tanner, who's gonna help me chase those big mule deer. Tanner is a hunter, a father, a guide, and a competition shooter. So I think we're gonna get along just fine. Colorado ranks #1 for producing the highest number of record book mule deer. Utah ranks #2. I'm here hunting with Western Lands Outfitters. We're hunting the Ensign Ranch, which is nestled in the Rocky Mountain Range in the northern part of the state. There were a few things that I noticed right away on the first day of this hunt. One was the incredible number of mule deer we were seeing. The other is the sheer beauty of this landscape, which is simply breathtaking, which makes me wonder, why don't I live here? This is my first morning hunting here, and I am completely struck by how beautiful this place is, and also how different it is. Like, here's a bunch of red rocks on a lake, and where we were hunting this morning, sagebrush and everything. It's amazing. And you, on the other hand, you live here. You've lived here your whole life. You're a Utahn, a Utahian. What
Some people call us different things. Let's stick with Utahn.
Utahn. Okay, so you're a Utahn. Do you take this for granted?
You know, I try not to. I try and stop and smell the roses. Right. Otherwise, the office turns into a job.
And your office, like you said, this is a huge private ranch. This is one of the biggest private properties in the state, right?
Correct. Second largest in the state, next to our neighbor to the north of us.
So we talk about this huge piece of private ground, but it's also open to the public for hunting, right?
It is. It's a very special program which allows us as the outfitter some special privileges, if you will, if we give a small percentage of our tags back to the state draw.
That's incredible. So you guys do the work and the public gets to benefit from it.
It allows us to manage it how we please, and it's a great, great program for the whole community.
That's awesome. Later that afternoon, Tanner brought me to a spot overlooking a railroad crossing, looking for a particular buck that he knew lived in this area.
I got him. I can see him with the naked eye now.
Once we saw that buck, he seemed to walk in every direction except for our direction. We would have gladly stalked closer, only there was one problem. A really big problem, or a really small one, depending on which angle you look at it from.
Tanner brought us in here because we're looking for one specific buck. We've been looking for like 3 hours, and then all of a sudden, Tanner finds him. And he's cruising through right where he needs to be, and then he decides to take a left turn and ends up in the 100-yard swath that is off limits because it's a railroad right away. Inside of what, like
100,000 acres.
100,000 plus acres.
Yep, you heard that right. This buck has decided to hang out in a 100-yard wide piece of ground that's the only piece of off-limits land in a whole 100,000-acre ranch.
What are the odds of that? You don't know your railroad conductors, do you? If a train came through We know where he is, that's for sure. Safe. He's very safe. That's where he is. Last night we found the buck we were looking for, but we couldn't get a shot at him because he kind of outwitted us. But this morning, we've moved in on where we think he spent the night. Hopefully we find him before he finds us.
Utah was the crossroads of the American West. In the 1800s, this was a place to explore, hunt, and hide out from the law. Outlaws like Butch Cassidy knew this land well, but nobody knew it better than the Ute Indians. They lived and hunted here for thousands of years, and the state of Utah is named after the Ute tribe. While Tanner might not know this land as well as the Utes did, he definitely knows where most of the mule deer are hiding. And here we sit, looking for the big one from yesterday, watching the train that we needed from yesterday roll on by. The completion of the Transcontinental Railroad happened at Promontory Summit, Utah on May 10, 1869, and it was definitely one of the most important events in United States history and in Utah's history. The Transcontinental Railroad was a 1,912-mile continuous railroad built between 1863 and 1869. It connected the Eastern Railway Network, which started at Council Bluffs, Iowa, with the Pacific Coast Railway, which started in San Francisco Bay. With its completion, a journey across the country that would normally take 6 months by wagon could now be made in 7 days. Therefore, 1869 is widely believed to be the year that the pioneer era was coming to an end, with the coming of the railroad. As the last car of the train finally disappears from sight, we see a buck. A big buck, and not the one from yesterday. And once again, we have a small problem. Or once again, it could be a big problem, depending on how you want to look at it.
I'm a little frustrated because Tanner here won't let me shoot that deer. Because we're on a management hunt, which means what? 3 points on one side, yes, sir, or super old, right? I don't like you very much right now.
It's midday, almost lunchtime, and Tanner told me that he's got an 820-yard target out there. I've never shot 800 yards in my life. Got the brand new Federal Custom Shop ammo, a brand new gun, brand new scope. So here goes nothing.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. Why is there a bloody knife on that tailgate? Now you're asking yourself, why is Nick holding on to that buck hanging from a buck pole that we didn't get to see him shoot? Well, everybody calm down, because it isn't my buck. That big old buck right there is my buddy Dan's. And as you can see, he's a happy camper. That is a hell of a deer, which is awesome, but it reminds me of some bad news. I only have one more day left to hunt in Utah, but once again, it's all about perspective. Because that means the good news is that I also have one more day to hunt in Utah. So let's do this.
Well, we've spotted a couple of shooter deer this morning. Great management deer. The only issue now is we gotta figure out how to get closer to them. Big, wide open country on a beautiful morning. 2 beautiful bucks. Might be a beautiful day.
And it feels like a beautiful day.
Things are down to the wire in Utah. This is my last day to hunt. We've spotted 2 shooter bucks way off in the distance. Now, we need a plan.
We need to make a move, but the deer are moving, we don't know what they're gonna do, and our wind is all wrong. So now we have to kind of be patient and wait, or take the long trip around. I don't do the patience game very well.
We sit and wait, trying to figure out which direction they'll be heading. And then we make our move. We choose to take the long way around them so that we can get the wind in our face, and we use the terrain to our advantage so we won't be seen. And then once we're to the other side, we creep up over the edge, and everything falls into place. For me, moments like this seem to move in slow motion. I get caught up in it all, and I'm completely aware of the fact that this is a moment I'll never forget. This was the last pitch in the 9th inning, the last hurrah, and somehow it all worked out. And I get to share this moment with a new friend, which to me is the best part of it all. There's an old quote I like that says, "Cherish your happy moments because they make a fine cushion for old age." If that's true, and I keep having moments like this, then I'll be very comfortable when I'm an old man. This is an old family photo of me, my dad Rick, my stepmom Nancy, my sister Jessica, and my other sister Jessica. Yep, you heard me right. I have 2 sisters named Jessica. Confused? Let me explain. My mom, Marlis, married my dad, Rick.
Yay!
Then they had me. 2 years later, my little sister Jessica was born. Then, when I was about 6, my parents got divorced. My mom eventually got remarried, and so did my dad, to Nancy. Nancy already had a daughter named Jessica. She was 2 years older than me, and she became my stepsister. So I grew up with 2 sisters named Jessica, one older and one younger. In my family, we still call them Little Jess and Big Jess. Now does that make sense? Good. Can we please move on? Big Jessica lives with her family about an hour and a half away from where I just hunted my mule deer. So I hop in the car and head to Salt Lake City to her house. She pours us a cup of coffee, and we do some much needed catching up on the front porch.
Our poor parents. They raise kids that move away. I run off to Nashville, you end up here. What was it about the West that for you guys seemed alluring? I mean, you both had good jobs in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Everything was good.
It almost was a little bit boring.
Yeah.
And I felt too young to be bored. I'd just come back from South America. We had a brand new baby. It was like the right time to go. We knew if we didn't go, we never would. I just have always had a fire that's just burnt me in certain directions, right? And sometimes I make good decisions and sometimes I don't.
Well, that one thing's for sure, we have that in common.
Right.
Burning fires to go somewhere else and making horrible decisions. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
Jessica's interest in pottery goes all the way back to high school. One good decision she made was taking a trip to South America with her husband Nathan. And it was on that trip that she took advantage of a rare opportunity to apprentice with master potters down there. And after learning the tricks of the trade from some of the very best, we fast forward nearly 20 years. Now, Jessica has converted that passion into a thriving pottery business right here in Salt Lake City. Welcome to Mean Mugs Pottery. When Jessica returned from South America, she started making all sorts of different kinds of pottery, often giving gifts to her friends. bowls and plates and vases and mugs. Those mugs caught the attention of some local businesses who wanted their logos put on the mug. Word of mouth spread, and more businesses wanted the same thing, and that is how Mead Mugs was born. This is the first time that I've seen Jessica's studio, and the first thing I noticed was a bottle of whiskey sitting there. Like brother, like sister. Now that the important stuff is out of the way, Jessica's gonna try to show me how to make a mug. This is gonna be interesting. Making pottery is arguably one of the most ancient of arts. We have found pottery artifacts all the way back to 29,000 BC. Remnants of pots have been found in the Czech Republic, China, Japan, Russia, and almost everywhere that ancient civilizations existed. Prehistoric pots were made by coiling, paddling, or pinching and shaping clay. And as humans developed, so did pottery making techniques. What's fascinating to me about what we're about to do today is that it's essentially the same process as potters have been using for tens of thousands of years.
Okay, so we're gonna make some mugs.
So you start with this ancient block of clay.
Yep.
Okay, here goes nothing. First, we cut off a hunk of clay and make sure it weighs around 1.5 pounds. That's something I can handle. Bring on step number 2.
This is like one of the hardest things for people to learn.
Here we push and stretch and squeeze and smash in just the right way to try and get the air bubbles out of the clay. Jessica says that if I do it right, it should look like the head of a bull.
She wants the head of a bull. There's the head of a bull. There's mine. Yeah. This is more like a butt cheek. like it looks like some massage.
Yeah.
After this, there are apparently a few more steps that Jessica tells me I don't have the skill level for. She's already preformed a few cups, which gets us straight to the fun part.
I feel as though I've already done everything I want to do.
All right.
I have made cup.
You've made cup. So now we've got to rethrow these mugs.
Okay.
And the reason we do that is we have to teach them how to be round.
When it comes to the skills needed to make pottery, the pottery wheel is what separates the men from the boys, or in this case, the brother from the sister, because it doesn't take me long to completely screw everything up.
Oh no.
Oopsie daisies.
Hold on.
Round mugs aren't really always that interesting.
Yeah. It's a good thing I can play fiddle.
It has a nose.
Luckily, Jessica is patient, and I started over. And I really felt like I was starting to get the hang of it for about a minute. And then, before I knew it, it all went to hell again. Thank God Jessica knows what she's doing, and that she knows exactly how to make me feel a little better. Now on to the next step, making the handle.
Grab a little lump of clay,
Okay.
and you're gonna just grab the end. You want your hands to be dry up
Okay.
here, so like this. And then you're gonna dip it,
Okay.
and then you're gonna pull it.
My hand got wet.
Oh, okay, grab another one. And
I broke it.
I knew it could be an interesting part of the whole process.
Get your head out of the game. We're making pottery here, people. We're making pottery.
And then I squeeze the
I broke it
bottom.
again. Luckily, I've never broken mine.
Yep.
I gotta be honest with you, I feel very awkward just doing this and having you stare at me.
You're doing it wrong.
Doing it wrong. Cut.
The list. Just, sort of lightly.
Lately what?
Just lightly slide.
Our parents are watching this. Our parents are watching this.
Just a tiny. It's all in the wrist.
Shut up. It's good enough. I can't do this any longer.
Luckily, Jessica made a few handles for us. And then she put a cool Nick's Wild Ride logo on the side of the mug that I'm gonna pretend and tell everyone else that I made. Today was a beautiful day, and I loved seeing my sister in her element. One thing we can't fight is time. There's no way around it. Every day that goes by, we get a little older. And the older I get, the more aware I become of the fact that we only get so much time.
And it feels like a beautiful day.
We're born, we grow up, we move away, we get married, we have kids. Some of us get divorced, some of us don't. But one thing's for sure, nothing stays the same. The big question then is, what do we do with the limited time we have? I don't have all the answers, but my time in Utah has reminded me of this.
It's all in the wrist.
Life's too short to waste even a minute, and the family you have is the only one you'll get. Do what makes you happy. Whether that's hunting, making new friends, or making pottery, find out what works for you. Find a balance between that and your family, and then get out and do it before your time is up.
It feels